All right, hi guys, and welcome to our third webinar. Today we're talking about how to automate your short-term rental business. I'm joined by Rashpal Sidhu, my co-founder and co-host, and today we're going to be walking you through the importance of automating your business, and we're going to be really practical as well. So stick around. We're going to talk to you like how to go about it, what should be automated, what shouldn't be automated, where to start, and some of the strategies and solutions that you guys can implement in your businesses, no matter what progress you've made to date and what part of your growth journey you're in. Great. So Rash, let's get into it. Importance of automating.
Yeah, cool. I mean, how does automation help your business, right? Number one, it reduces all of those manual, repetitive, time-consuming tasks. There's always going to be something that you have to do every single time you get a new booking, every single time you start and list a new rental, every single time you do another process. There's always going to be those repetitive things. So they consume time over and over again. They're very standard. You always do the same thing. So that's a great thing that you can think about automating, and you get all of that time back, which ultimately helps you to use that time to then, scale your business, because that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
That's an obvious area. Helps you to reduce that human error as well. Makes things more consistent. Increases consistency. Yeah. And also make sure that you don't forget things, right? So it helps you to improve that guest experience, improve your client experience if you're an agent and you're doing this on behalf of other hosts, etc. So it's good all round.
So where should the focus go initially? What should be automated? Because it's a bit of a buzzword a lot of the time. People talking about systemization, automation, automating everything, but what's the reality? What really should you be focusing on?
That's a very, very good point. That there's things that you should automate and there's things that you shouldn't automate, right? So not everything can be automated. Things that can be automated are your routine things like your guest messaging, right? So as an example, that you've got to message the guest when you receive the booking, before they check in. You've got to provide them with information at different stages of their journey. That's all routine stuff. So that's a great candidate. Creation of tasks and things that need to be done can be automated to some extent as well. Like if you always know that these are the things that need to be done, create those tasks automatically, right? So that people know what's still outstanding. Alerts can be automated, right? Something should have been done, it hasn't been done. Somebody should have responded to the guest within a time frame, it hasn't been done. That kind of stuff is also very good. Escalating things, right? You can automate things that need to be escalated. An example would be that we've now had 3 messages from this guest. None of those messages have been responded to. So let's escalate this, automate that escalation. Reporting, weekly reporting, monthly reporting. These are all things that can be automated. Integrating, sending information. So if you know that every month you've got to send your bookkeeper the information, automate that extract of that data, send that over to your bookkeeper, or send that into your bookkeeping app, your accounting app, right? Whichever system you use. So the integration of your systems can be automated as well. So those are great things that can be automated. I don't know, what's your thoughts on things that you might not necessarily want to automate?
Yeah, well, it's a good point. There is certain critical things that happen in your business where you still want that human element, that final kind of approval, if you like. So the obvious one for me is access instructions. I know it does somewhat depend. I think there are businesses out there maybe a bit more in the traditional holiday lettings market, for example, in rural areas where people are booking for a week at a time every year. I think you can be a bit more relaxed about it there, but certainly if you're running a high volume, serviced accommodation type model in a city, then you need to be very careful about approving access, and that final decision ought to be a human one. And even if everything is presented, and that that notification, that alert that you mentioned earlier, that part can be automated. You need to do this work so that we're not leaving people waiting. But yeah, I think that final decision really ought to not be automated. And then it's the last minute things, guests getting into properties, for example.
Yeah.
People get really annoyed if you're trying to provide automated solutions to their problem. You need to speak to people. People need someone to speak to. And yeah, it's just really any general problems or issues that guests report. And of course, complaints, that's when you need the human touch, right?
Yeah.
You need to get on top of these situations quickly, and trying to automate your way out of that is not a good idea.
There's nothing more infuriating than getting that bounce back email saying, like you do when you're dealing with the council. Saying, we've received your complaint. We'll be responding to you within 10 days.
Have you tried this? And here's an article that's
absolutely
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about challenges, right? First and foremost, where to start?
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? Because instinctively things can be automated, but where should you start, right? It's about identifying that biggest pain point. Yeah? What is it that's taking all of that time? What is it that should be so simple? It's such a simple thing to do, but we keep doing it inconsistently, or we keep doing it or forgetting to do it, right? These are the kind of things that are your kind of prime candidates. Try and have a think, like, make your list, make a list of the things that you think, are kind of candidates for automation, but then also think about the value it's going to create. If it's something that happens once a week and it's going to save you 5 minutes once a week, well, so what? It's something that's, obviously it can be made more consistent and you can remember to do it, but it's not saving you a lot of time. But if it's something that you do 10, 20 times a day, then that's going to give you a lot of value, right? Most short-term rental businesses, service accommodation businesses, start with things like your guest comms. That's a fantastic place to start, because you want to make sure that your guests have all of the information that they need. That they know that they're going to be checking in at this time when they arrive. They know that the parking is available. They know all of this is all available, right? You don't forget to provide that, because if you do, then they're going to be phoning you up and asking you, right? So guest comms information, that's a really good place to start in most businesses that we've worked with. And then you can expand from there, right? You can then look at comms with other stakeholders in your business, your housekeeping team, your clients, if you're managing properties on behalf of somebody else. Those are other good areas. And then you can look at things like alerts, like alerting when something hasn't happened and should have happened, and then move on from there, right? So decide pain points, value, right? Also think about how easy it is, and then tackle those types of things first, and kind of prioritize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so mapping out, how would you go about that?
Yeah, so this is where you kind of like need to zoom out, right? So take that kind of like helicopter view, look at your processes, look at those journeys, break them down into the stages. So the guest journeys kind of have a classic one, so they're booked, they're pre-arrival, etc. Look at that, and then think about what it is you're doing at each stage of that journey, right? So as soon as you receive a booking, you're sending a booking confirmation, you're reaching out to your housekeeping team to get them booked in, the next stage at pre-arrival, you what is it you're doing? Write that down. The tasks, the messaging, the alerting, get all of that written down at each of those stages, and have a look at that. You can do that on pen and paper. You can use a system, right? we recommend using a system for this, documented in a way that everyone can access, everyone can contribute to it. You know, as a business owner, you're going to have your view, and then your guest comms team are going to have their view of what should be done, what is being done. You know, you don't want to forget things. You want to try and get it all down. So that's kind of the way that we'll go about it. It's just a really
healthy way to operate as well. If you do this as a group exercise, quite often you'll be aware of, as a business owner, you know what really needs to happen. But if you do make it a team exercise, it's much easier to get the team to actually buy into it. You know, they're taking ownership in this, and there is no bad ideas, is there? And if you can do it in person, even better, right? Post-it notes on the wall.
Absolutely. I mean, virtual meetings, like a webinar type approach, you know, where you've got everybody on together, which is great as well. That can work really well. Absolutely. You know, try and involve as many of your stakeholders in your business that you can. Yeah.
So we often find some people like to automate too early, and they're going straight into trying to automate everything without being super clear on their processes, and potentially not even realizing they've got bad processes that are causing inefficiencies or problems in their business, right?
Yeah.
So walk us through that, Rash. What do people need to look out for?
Yeah. Okay. So, like, you know, if you think about it, you want to automate something. You spot a problem, and then before having that zoomed out view, thinking about mapping it all out, you just start to crack on. Now, the thing here is that what you lose in doing that is that hands-on feedback that you need to get to make sure that process is correct first, right? If you automate too early, you lose that opportunity. So you really want to get hands-on, run this yourself, make sure that the process is working well, right? So if that is guest comms, you want to make sure you ping a message out to your guests manually. They might respond and go, I didn't understand that. You know, actually, I would need this other bit of information. And doing that manually first gives you the feedback that you need to make sure that your process is working. Yeah. What's the purpose of this communication? This is the purpose. Are they confused? Are they missing anything? You need that feedback. If you go straight into automating, then you lose that opportunity. That's the problem. And then you end up automating a bad process. And actually all you do is create more noise, more problems, right? Because everybody now is getting that bad communication every single time, and everybody's asking you questions. You can then end up in a problem situation where actually you start to automate to fix the problems, right? So, people that keep asking me for this bit of information, I'll send another message to fix that problem with the first message, and I'll automate that. And then you end up, you're just creating more noise, more mess. Yeah,
you end up looking like that guy on the slide.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, great. Let's jump into some strategies then. So first things first, you want to map out your journey, the process, and you want a tool where you can do this with your team. So the tool could be as simple as post-it notes if you're in person. Otherwise, we've mentioned this before in this webinar, we love a tool called Miro. It's like a digital whiteboard, and just get on a screen share and get everyone to start contributing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Use a tool. I think the strategy here, mapping out your journey and your process, is use a tool if you can, where you can document this. You can share it with your team. You can put it somewhere where you can easily access it. Everybody can access it, and also you can evolve it, right? Because you're going to want feedback into this automated process, right? And into the automations that you put in place, so that you can come in and you can make the tweaks. You might have some new steps in your process that you want to automate. You can come back to this. It's going to be a living, breathing document for whichever journey process it is that you're looking to map. So certainly do that, and do that first, right? That's the key strategy here. Do this first before you consider even getting into automating anything. And I guess
one of the you could say it's a challenge, right? Lots of tools that we're using come with automation, right? And there's an overlap and all sorts. So you need to decide which ones are doing what, right?
Absolutely, and this is a very good point. The second big thing here is decide which tools you're going to use to automate, to help you to automate. You know, you'll probably find you use multiple systems. Well, most people have to use multiple systems, you know, in your business. You might have, you know, your OTA portal, that comes with some automation capability. You might have another system, your PMS, or a task management system, or a guest system, whatever it is. All of these different tools have automation capabilities. So once you've mapped everything out, you kind of got to decide, right, I'm going to automate these things here with this tool, and be really clear about which tools you're going to use at which stage. Otherwise you end up with overlap, and somebody manages that tool over there, they decide they're going to automate something, and you know, you get this crossover and inconsistencies, and it starts to break apart a little bit.
So people need to decide, but of course be open to changing it as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's never locked in. Always have a continuous improvement mindset for sure.
Absolutely, and that's really our third point here, isn't it? It's about automating incrementally. You test, measure, improve, and it is a process in itself. Automating the business. If you try and hit it all at once, then it becomes very overwhelming, very messy, very quickly.
Yeah. Don't eat the elephant all in one go, right? Right. So yeah, it is incremental, right? Like we say, you know, understand the highest value tasks in your business that you can prioritize first, and then look to tackle those, right? You know, and then once you've implemented that, make sure you put in place the ability to measure what you've done. Also, you need to test it, right? Yourself as well. Make sure that you almost take that place of your guest, put in bookings and things like that. Make sure that it's working from their viewpoint, or your housekeeping team, or whoever it is that this journey that you're trying to automate for, you know, and put in place ways of measuring it, you know, so that you can improve it. Definitely, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So should we move on to solutions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So we've talked about Miro as one of these solutions, right? A way of mapping it in the first place, visually seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a thing here that I can share. If you can give me control for a second.
Absolutely.
Okay, just bear with me. Sorry about this. Okay, this is a great tool. It allows you to basically take anything in your business, map it out as a process. You know, as part of what we do with our application is we really need to understand, you know, different processes so that we can build apps that work. And in the same way for your own business, you know, you want to map out whatever process it. Say here we're looking at the life cycle of a reservation, right? You know, you get the reservation, you know when it was reserved. There's a start point up until you start to think about doing your pre-arrival tasks. So you break that down as your reserved stage. So this is about breaking down the process. Looking at maybe, you know, what's the next stage here? Looking at reservation, it's the pre-arrival stage. When does that start? 7 days prior to arrival. When does that pre-arrival stage end? You know, up to midnight of the day of arrival. Then you're into the arrival stage, start and end times. The stage where you've got then the guest that's in staying, break that down. When does that start and end? The departure stage, post departure, and then what we do is go into the completed stage. Having that broken down like that then gives you the ability to map the things that you want to do at each of those stages. So, I've got here shaded all of the messages that you want to send to your guests. Send the booking confirmation, but then there's a task here: book the housekeeper. Look at the pre-arrival stage. You can see this is quite an important stage. There's a lot going on here. Mark those stages if they're higher priority, so you can understand and break those down. Check-in requests and reminders to your guests so that they complete their ID verification. Tasks for collecting payments, capturing deposits, completing, the check-in forms, verifying and approving the guests, releasing access instructions. At the arrival stage, we've got down here releasing access codes, having that courtesy message call on arrival. There's a task around doing that. During the stay, the kind of things that you might be doing there: mid-stay cleans, deal with any questions or issues that your guests might have. Departure, sending that checkout reminder. This is the kind of thing that you want to do. You want to go into this level of detail, and then start to layer in other things that you want to automate later, right? So we've started out here mapping out just things like, messaging and tasks, but later when you've tackled those, you might want to start thinking about alerts, other things that you want to automate, the release of codes, the integration, the data extracts, the reporting and things like that. So that's the kind of thing you can do with a tool like Miro. It really helps you to do that, and you can have multiple people collaborating together using a tool like this.
Awesome. Thank you, mate. Very helpful. So what else have we got? We've got OTAs themselves. Of course, they allow you to automate messaging at the very least. And of course, if you're connected to a PMS channel manager, then you automatically bring in those bookings.
Absolutely.
And they can automate, I guess you can automate rates as well and start having some rules around that within your OTAs. And again, it's being clear as to kind of where those rates are coming from. Do you want to set that in your PMS? Are you going to set that directly? Are you using a pricing tool like Price Labs?
Absolutely.
So again, it's going back to knowing which tool you're using for what.
Yeah, and OTAs, obviously, you've got the options, haven't you, to add on apps and things like that as well. Yeah. Sorry, the PMSs, they've got add-on apps and things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That allows you to do exactly that kind of thing that you talked about there, which is, managing your rates automatically and things like that as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, so messaging, guest messaging in PMSs is an obvious automation. I think one of the problems we see all the time, we speak to a lot of business owners where they've got loads of automated messages, and then what you were talking about earlier, adding to the automation to make up for problems that are happening routinely in the business just means more automated messages. And in the end, people just don't read anything, right? So trying to streamline comms whilst also providing all the information the guest needs at the right time, that is somewhat of a challenge with a lot of the PMS systems and the way they just do automation.
And some PMSs better than others provide the multi-channel capability, but not all PMSs do that. So nowadays, you want to be able to communicate on email, via the OTA, via WhatsApp, SMS. Even things like automatically bringing up booking details when you're receiving a phone call. These kind of things, not all PMSs are geared up for that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess as well, a lot of basic housekeeping tasks and messages can be automated as well from a PMS.
So that's right.
And then of course invoicing. To a greater or lesser degree, you can handle taking payments and automating parts of those that invoicing process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. And so then of course we've got a dream solution, which is of course GuestFlow. Which it automates tasks, it automates messages, it's about payments, deposits, and we've put much more there. But we're talking integrations for things like accounting, marketing.
It's a unified platform that is built around things like that guest journey, the reservation, life cycle from beginning to end. And integrating everything that you need to do around it, which is why it's quite a powerful tool. You can do messaging, and not only we're talking about from an individual PMS. So you might have a PMS that you use for, as an agent, you might have a PMS that one of your hosts uses, but then another host might use a different PMS. Then all of a sudden you've got this broken automation. You've got some automations over here, some automations over there. GuestFlow solves some of those problems for you by bringing everything into GuestFlow, but allowing you to have one standardized automation across all of your PMSs. So it's useful for things like that. It helps a lot with the larger agent business models, etc. Tasks, automating the creation, the completion, the deletion of tasks if you don't need them anymore. Payments and deposits, integrations into your accounting system, your marketing system. If you do want to automate the approval of access because it's recorded in the system that payments have been collected, check-in has been verified, guest ID, etc. has already been verified, you can then automate access codes being released at check-in time and things like that.
And absolutely. And just to address that concern that I was outlining earlier with just too many messages and sending people here, there and everywhere, being one of the issues to be aware of when setting up automation on a PMS. We overcome a lot of that with GuestFlow. We're just sending people one link throughout their customer journey. It's the same link, isn't it?
Correct.
And that might give them call to actions like you need to check in, submit your ID or sign this, or here's your access instructions. And the benefit of doing that is you've got granular control. Even if you've approved someone for access upon reviewing their ID a week before arrival, you've got granular control. They may get access instructions, but they're not going to see the codes into the actual check-in time. So that's the benefit of having control over the automation, but just having it all in one platform as well, right?
So there's this combination of human intervention and automation. Still requires somebody in your team to have approved access for the codes to have been automatically released. So there's that interaction between the two. It's
I think that's just summarised it perfectly. That's what we want. We want control over workflows. We want to automate as much as possible, and for them not to. We don't want our busy guest comms teams and operatives having to think about all of the next steps. I've done this and I need to do that and I need to think about that next week. No. Do your action and then the next steps are there and they're automated. And that's the benefit of having it a tight integration across that guest experience, that customer journey, which is what GuestFlow brings.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an all-in-one integrated platform with automation built in. So absolutely,
Awesome. All right, Rash. Well, thanks very much for your time. Looking forward to the next webinar as well. But this was very exciting. Any questions, please ask away and reach out. And by all means, send us an email and we'll get back to you with any answers. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.